Vezot Habraha, and this is the blessing. God's trumpet call presents 11th reading from the Book of Deuteronomy, 54th and the last reading from the Torah. Outline of Torah portion. Moshe blesses the tribes of Israel, Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 1 to chapter 33 verse 7. Preface to Moshe's blessing verse 1. On the last day of his life, Moshe completed the writing of the Torah. Moshe and Joshua taught the song of Moshe to the children of Israel, and then he blessed each tribe before ascending Mount Nebo, where he dies. The chapter begins with the phrase, "This is the blessing that Moshe, the man of God, spoke." The introductory statement very fittingly calls Moshe the man of God, for he served children of Israel for 40 years with a shepherd's heart. The blessing is the most appropriate gift of Moshe to Israel, the people he loved and served. The glory of God's revelation to Israel, verse 2 to 4. Prior to Moshe's blessing, the 12 tribes, he praised God, how he descended from heaven amidst myriads of angels to give his people the Torah on Mount Sinai. These verses describe images of God's glory revealing himself and his word to Israel. God's glory was also evident in his great love for his people and his care for them. For it says, "All his saints are in your hand." Moshe praised Israel for accepting God's gift unconditionally. The blessing Moshe left behind is the Torah, the revelations of God which became the source of Jewish and Christian religion. Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon put forward 13 fundamentals of Jewish beliefs. These 13 fundamentals of Jewish beliefs are summarized in the Siddur, the traditional Jewish prayer book. This creed is called I believe. Ani Ma'amin. Children of Israel received the 10 commandments out at Mount Sinai. The first commandment is, "I am the Lord thy God." Exodus chapter 20 verse 2. The commandment to believe in God. Belief in God, the transcendent creator of all things. Above all and beyond everything that exists is the first foundation of Jewish beliefs that Rambam espoused. The second foundation of belief is to believe that God is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is one God. The Lord is one. God is not a pantheon of gods, nor is he the head of the pantheon of gods. He alone is God. The fifth foundation of Jewish belief is the prohibition against idolatry, a theme we find throughout the Book of Deuteronomy. Moshe blesses the tribes of Israel. The Lord came from Sinai and dawned on them from Seir. He shone forth from the mount. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 2. Moshe describes God's journey from Mount Sinai to the edge of the promised land, Seir, and Mount Paran. The sages of the Talmudic era understood above verse as a reference to receiving Torah on Mount Sinai. But here it is explicitly mentioned Mount Seir, which belonged to Edomites, and Mount Paran, which belonged to the Ishmaelites. Talmud interprets that just as God offered the Torah to Israel on Mount Sinai, he also offered it to the other nations at significant mountains. Torah was offered to Edomites at Mount Seir and to the Ishmaelites at Mount Paran, and so forth. But the terms of the Torah was not acceptable to them. In the same passage, the Talmud goes on to speculate about how the nations that refuse the Torah will stand judgment before God in the Messianic era. The Talmud likens the Messianic era to the Sabbath. In the Messianic era, those who have lived their lives in accordance and in obedience to God's commandments will be rewarded by the Lord, and those who have not will not be rewarded by the Lord. Mankind will be held responsible for the revelation God has bestowed upon them. This is the same as the 10th and 11th fundamentals of Jewish beliefs taught by the Rambam. Torah. Moshe commanded, verse 4. Moshe charged us with a law, a possession of the assembly of Jacob. Rambam's 8th and 9th fundamentals of Jewish belief is about the Torah given through Moshe. He makes it clear that even though the Torah came through the hand of Moshe, all the words of the Torah are actually spoken directly by God. Moshe is not the author, but he only transmitted the words. Every word of the Torah is from God. The 9th fundamental is concerned with the integrity of the Torah. Rambam states that the Torah we have today is the same Torah that was transcribed by Moshe. We are not permitted to add to it or subtract from it. It is not subject to change. Also, it will never be exchanged for a different Torah. Worship the King. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 5. Moshe's blessing over the tribes of Israel came with a reminder of the profound love their God has for them. He told them, indeed he loves his people. He referred to Israel as God's holy ones, and they in his hands. He also reminded them of God's gift to them, gift of Torah, supernaturally attested to and witnessed. Then a king arose in Jeshurun, where the leaders of the people were gathered, all the tribes of Israel together. Moshe described God's relationship to Israel as that of a king over Israel. Israel was to be a theocracy where God himself was the absolute monarch, a kingdom ruled by the Torah through grace, mercy, and love. A king must be obeyed and served. The 5th foundation of belief of Rambam is that God alone is worthy of worship. In the Torah, we find fathers blessing their sons. Noah blessed his sons, Genesis chapter 9. Isaac blessed his sons, Genesis chapter 27. Jacob blessed his sons, Genesis chapter 49. Moshe too blessed the children of Israel whom he served for 40 years. Moshe previously blessed the children of Israel 3 times. First, when they completed the construction of the tabernacle. Exodus chapter 39 verse 43. Second, he blessed them at the conclusion of the first worship service in the tabernacle. Leviticus chapter 9 verse 23. Third, he blessed them at the outset of his farewell speech. Fourth, he blessed children of Israel tribe by tribe according to the Midrash when God came and told Moshe to get ready to depart from this world. He appealed to God. He said, I constantly rebuke them and admonish them to fear God and fulfill the commandments. I do not wish to leave this world before I have blessed them. Many of Moshe's blessings over the 12 tribes of Israel can be compared with Jacob's blessings over his 12 sons. Jacob's prophecies included rebukes and chastisements in the blessings. Moshe's words are blessings of predictions of goodness of Israel. Moshe's blessings over tribes were in connection to their conquest of Canaan and success in warfare and prosperity in the land. In Moshe's blessings, tribe of Simeon is not mentioned. Tribes of Reuben and Judah. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 6 and 7. Moshe said, let Reuben live and not die out. even though his numbers grow few. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 6. During the conquest, the tribe of Reuben was in double danger because they inherited their land east of Jordan. Their wives and children were rendered vulnerable when they went out to fight with the rest of the tribes. They also volunteered to be at the head of the invasion force in Canaan. So Moshe's prayer is a blessing of protection over them. According to Rashi, he may live in this world and not die in the world to come, that the incident involving Bilhah will not be remembered against him. Genesis chapter 35 verse 22. May Reuben be counted along with the enumeration of his brothers. Jacob in his blessing said, "You shall not excel." Genesis chapter 49 verse 4. The tribe of Reuben never did excel. There never came a prophet, a judge, or a king from the tribe of Reuben. And this he said of Judah. Of Judah he said, "Hear, Adonai, the cry of Yehudah, bring him into his people. Let his own hands defend him, but you help him against his enemies." Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 7. Tribe of Judah was always at the vanguard of Israel's forces. Moshe's prayer was that God would hear the prayer of the men of Judah when they went into battle and bring them back in peace. Moshe prayed for the blessing and sustaining of the tribe of Judah. Tribe of Levi and Benjamin. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 8 to verse 12. And of Levi he said, "Let your Tumim and your Urim be with your Holy One, whom you tested at Massah, and with whom you contended at the waters of Meribah, who says of his father and mother, I have not seen them, nor did he acknowledge his brothers, or know his own children, for they have observed your word and kept your covenant. They shall teach Jacob your judgments, and Israel your law. They shall put incense before you, and a whole burnt sacrifice on your altar. Bless his substance, Lord, and accept the work of his hands. Strike the loins of those who rise against him, and of those who hate him, that they rise not again." Moshe was in fact reversing the curse of being scattered among the tribes that Jacob had put on them, the Levites, in Genesis chapter 49, verse 5 to 7. Moshe did not contradict Jacob's prophecy. Because of their obedience and loyalty to God, Levi had a blessed place among the tribes of Israel. Moshe mentions the garments worn by the high priest, the Urim and Tumim. The priesthood was given to that portion of the tribe of Levi, descended from Aaron. The rest of the tribe also serves in the temple. The tribe earned this privilege because of proper behavior during the event at Massah and Meribah. The Levites were to be scattered among all the tribes, but the scattering was for the purpose of serving the Lord and teaching Torah to all Israel. Teaching Torah is mentioned before their service in the temple. Of Benjamin he said, "The beloved of the Lord shall dwell in safety by him, who shelters him all day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders." Moshe prayed that Benjamin would be near the Lord and rest between his shoulders. Benjamin's territory was the most strategic prize in the land of Israel. In addition, the holy city of Jerusalem, God's holy dwelling place, was destined to be built within the territory of Benjamin. Moshe is hinting that the temple will eventually be built in the portion of the land allocated to Benjamin. Joseph. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 13 to 17. And of Joseph he said, Blessed of the Lord is his land, with the precious things of heaven, with the dew, and the deep lying beneath, with the precious truths of the sun, with the precious produce of the months, with the best things of the ancient mountains, with the precious things of the everlasting hills, with the precious things of the earth and its fullness, and the favor of him who dwelt in the bush. Let the blessing come on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. His glory is like a firstborn bull, and his horns like the horns of the wild ox. Together with them he shall push the peoples to the ends of the earth. They are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Blessing over Joseph was the longest. Blessing even Jacob gave the longest. Blessing to Joseph when he blessed his 12 sons. Moshe's blessing over Joseph has to do with the territory that would fall to those tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. He blessed Joseph with fertility, prosperity, and military success. Several of the blessings echoed Jacob's words over Joseph in Genesis chapter 49. Zebulun, Issachar, and Gad, Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 18 to 21. And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in your going out, and Issachar in your tents. They shall call the peoples to the mountains. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall partake of the abundance of the seas, and of treasures hidden in the sand. To Zebulun and Issachar Moshe said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in your going forth, and Issachar in your tents. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 18. He blessed them with wealth and commerce in their territories, and tied their fortunes one to another. And of Gad he said, Blessed is he who enlarges Gad. He dwells as a lion, and tears the arm of the crown of his head. He provided the first part for himself, because a lawgiver's portion was reserved there. He came with the heads of the people. He administered the justice of the Lord and his judgments with Israel. To the Gadites Moshe said, Blessed is the one who enlarges Gad. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 20. And he went on to describe the military strength of Gad as a ferocious lion. Moshe also hinted that his own burial place would be within the territory that Gad had chosen as their own, when said, For theirs the ruler's portion was reserved. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 21. Then Naphtali and Asher. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 22 to 26. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor, and full of the blessing of the Lord, possesses the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Asher is most blessed of sons. Let him be favored by his brothers, and let him dip his foot in oil. Your sandals shall be iron and bronze. As your days, so shall your strength be. Like the Gadites, Moshe blessed the Danites with military prowess. He compared him to a lion, saying, Dan is a lion whelp that leaps forth from Bashan. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 2. Moshe blessed the tribe of Naphtali with an inheritance in Galilee, which contains some of the best farmland in all Israel, including a portion of the coast of the Sea of Galilee. In his blessing he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of the blessing of the Lord, take possession of the sea and the south. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 23. Moshe blessed the tribe of Asher with contentment. He said, more blessed than the sons of Asher. May he be favored by his brothers, and may he dip his foot in oil. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 24. Asher's blessing relates to the meaning of his name. Asher means blessing, happiness, and contentment. One reason for this happiness would be that the abundance of good olive groves in Asher's region. The name of Simon is missing from Moshe's blessing over the 12 tribes of Israel. Some suggest that Jacob wanted the tribe of Simon to be scattered among the other tribes. Therefore, they didn't need their own blessing but shared in the blessing of the other tribes. Tribe of Simon still have its own territory in the land of Israel. According to the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 48:24, Simon will have its own strip of land between the tribes of Benjamin and Issachar. Conclusion. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 27 to chapter 34 verse 12. After blessing the 12 tribes of Israel, Moshe declared, there is none like the God of Jeshurun. Moshe refers to the greatness and splendor of the Holy One as he rides the heavens and traverses the skies in his majesty. Moshe tells Israel that God is transcendent. God and his works inspire in us awe and godly fear. Yet despite his greatness, he comes down to the aid of his people. The incomparable greatness of God is not only found in his grandeur, but despite his transcendence, he humbles himself on behalf of his people. He rides the heavens and traverses the skies to come to the help of Israel. Prophet Isaiah describes God as high, exalted, and holy, and living in a holy place. Yet at the same time dwell among humble and lowly human beings. God is transcendent yet immanent in human affairs. Moshe continued to bless Israel and wanted to encourage them. Moshe wanted Israel to think of God as a place of safety on which they could always rely. Moshe said, the eternal God is dwelling place. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 27. Rambam's fourth fundamental principle of faith was that God not only pre-existed the universe, but he is himself without beginning. He used Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 27 as proof text for this concept. The eternal God is a dwelling place. A more literal translation of the Hebrew could read, a dwelling place is the God of the first. Rambam understood the God of the first to imply that God transcends even the first. It is not that God is first, rather he is the God of the first. It is not that God is eternal, rather he is the God over eternity. Moshe encouraged Israel, saying, regardless of what circumstances might befall them, underneath are the everlasting arms. Deuteronomy chapter 33 verse 27. God is a spirit and does not have a human body as we do. This was also the third fundamental principle of Jewish belief espoused by Rambam. Here the word arm is used to symbolize the strength, as in Psalms 89 verse 13 and Psalms 136 verse 12. Moshe encourages us to remember that regardless of the circumstances, we are undergirded by the limitless strength of God. Deuteronomy chapter 34 verse 10 tells that since that time no prophet has risen in Israel like Moshe, whom the Lord knew face to face. The seventh foundation of Jewish faith is the belief that Moshe is unique among the prophets. Moshe was a prophet. He was gifted to hear from God directly and served as a messenger for the Most High. The gift of prophecy is the sixth foundation of Jewish belief espoused by Rambam. After blessing the entire nation, Moshe went to the top of the Mount Nebo. From there, God showed him the entire land of Israel. Moshe died and was buried by God. No one knows his burial place. The nation mourned for Moshe for 30 days. The same God who buried Moshe will one day awaken him. Resurrection of the dead is the 13th principle of Jewish faith Rambam espoused. Moshe said in Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 15, the Lord would one day raise a prophet like me from among you, from your countrymen. This is a prophecy of coming of the second Messiah, the second Moshe. The 12th foundation of Jewish faith is the coming of the Messiah. The apostles understood the prophecy of the prophet like Moshe to refer to Yeshua HaMashiach. Christians believe that Yeshua of Nazareth is the Messiah. The prophet like Moshe. Believers in Yeshua HaMashiach believes that one has come who has surpassed even Moshe, as stated in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 1 to 3. With this reading, we complete the 1-year cycle of Torah readings.